All right, excellent. So today we're going to talk a bit about the solution that we built specifically for CROs, combining the use of our OpenAir and NetSuite practices. Just a little bit about ourselves. I am a managing consultant here at Sikich. I have my webcam on, so I think you guys can see me okay. And I focus mainly on life sciences, CROs, professional services industries. And Hunter, I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's great to meet everybody. My name's Hunter Parr. I'm one of the senior consultants here at Sikich who specializes in projects and project accounting, as well as our OpenAir PSA solution. We're excited to show you guys what we have for CROs.
Terrific. Okay, Michael, I think you're going to steal the screen on me.
I am. We're going to throw out our first poll here today. How many systems are you currently running? If everyone can see that. Chris, Hunter, can you see that there?
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. That poll is how many systems are you currently running? Give everybody a few more seconds here on this first poll. Okay, well, it seems like there is a consensus among everyone that 100% are within about 2 to 3.
Terrific.
Okay, I'm going to hide that poll. Thanks so much. Back to you.
Okay, and can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. So from an agenda perspective, the first thing we're going to talk about is just an overview of what we're seeing in the CRO industry. Why are we here? Why did we build the solution? Then we're going to move into what NetSuite provides in terms of solving some of those needs that we're coming across and some of the challenges that the CROs are facing in the current landscape. Then we're going to get into OpenAir. We're going to switch gears a little bit on that one. We're actually going to show a bit of a demo. So Hunter's queued up a nice a demo just to show and make it real and what some of the things we're trying to solve and some of the common use cases there. And then we're going to bring it back and say, well, why are these two applications solving the needs that you're seeing, and why are we better together with them? Perfect. So in terms of challenges, we kind of break them down into 3 areas. So disparate systems, manual reporting and visibility, and inefficient approval. So what we're seeing and kind of validates is, how many applications are you using to manage the entire ecosystem of what you have to solve on a day-to-day basis. A lot of times we're seeing homegrown applications around managing studies, resourcing, even ERPs, and tying those kind of ideas in together. We're seeing a lot of Excel documents and reliance on Excel for things like automated billing or revenue recognition, really things that are capable of being done in Excel, but as you grow and scale, really tend to cause issues as you get larger. A disconnected ERP, so if you have just a standalone GL that doesn't talk to any of the other applications, what kind of reporting are we getting out of that? And typically it's very manual driven. And a standalone PSA or resourcing, and that's part of what we're going to show here today and what Hunter's bringing is. What does the resourcing and project management look like from a study management perspective? From your manual reporting, communication, and visibility, again, these fragmented softwares cause a lot of gaps of information between these technologies. We're seeing a lot of manual efforts in terms of communicating with your clients, life sciences organizations, in terms of status and updates. A lot of times these tools are not integrated, so they're not talking to each other, which means that we have people moving data. and that's a lot what we're going to focus on. How do we eliminate that manual effort? Disjointed clinical applications, and do you have a LIMS system? Do they talk to your ERP? Do they tie into resourcing and inventory management? And then we'll focus on approvals too. Approvals aren't just I need to approve invoices or I need to approve time. Approvals kind of span the whole landscape. So we're going to talk about how do we tie in approvals and how do these two systems really give you the ability to more efficiently manage those approvals outside of things like email and paper documents.
Yeah, and then in addition to challenges, we're also seeing a lot of growth within the CRO industry. I mean, recent studies show that the market's on track to double in size by 2027, which I'm sure you guys are also aware of and actively working to position yourself to compete. And part of the things that we think will make differentiators is, cost competitiveness, making sure to deliver project and studies on time, within budget, and being able to then bill. And one of the challenges, there's no necessary guarantee of recurring revenue, and there's going to be a battle for kind of market share. And overarching all of this is kind of efficiency, right? We want to make sure that CROs have the tools as well as the expertise to be efficient with their work, so they can increase their FTE or full-time equivalents, their project to study volume, as well as gain more visibility and control. And one of the best ways to do that is through the use of current technology, right? The industry is right now kind of outpacing the technology, and especially as you add more and more systems, the cost of technology ownership increases, and there's a big focus on kind of IT. And then, of course, with the growth, there's extra regulatory requirements, both audit and traceability, especially if you have a lot of clinical trials, as well as accounting regulations to make sure that kind of the story that you guys are telling and selling matches what we're seeing and it works well. And CROs are interesting in that they're really a hybrid business model. They cross a lot of different verticals of business in the way that Sikich sees them. They're a professional services business. You guys have staff, project management, scientists who are working actively, delivering, usage and tests, which means that you'll require at some level some project management, some resourcing, making sure that you match the right people for the right trial or work that you're doing. And usually those things are segregated, right? You have one system that's doing kind of time and expense, maybe another system, or even it's all in Excel, doing the project management. And then you kind of have to match those together to get some sort of project accounting. In addition to services, you guys are a life science company, as well as running clinical trials. So all of those three things kind of merge together to give a really exciting, I think, market, and give us a good opportunity to show you guys how we can kind of fit the more traditional tools to fit this complex or married business model.
Terrific. So what we want to do is just sort of outline what are the common functions to align those business models that Hunter just talked about. So at the foundation, most companies, most organizations do require an ERP or some sort of GL to record their financials. But what we're going to do is kind of show how NetSuite extends that just core GL functionality into what we're going to talk about in terms of automated billing, complex revenue recognition, reporting, AP. So really extending what ERP is and how we understand ERP. We're going to talk a bit about CRM, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And there we'll go over terms like what is our pipeline, how do we manage our forecasting, estimating pricing and quoting. So how are we communicating those types of quotes and pricing to our clients and customers? The PSA is really solved within our OpenAir solution, and there we'll talk about what is a project, what is a study, how are we executing, how are we assigning resources, and how are we breaking down that project into manageable tasks. Above all of it, right, what do we want to get out of these systems? And typically it's reporting, right? Reporting is the outcome of having really good systems. But reporting spans across not just financials, but operations, executive, sales. So we really want to strive to be able to provide access to information in a timely manner for all of the relevant stakeholders. Procurement's a big one in terms of how do we buy, how do we make sure that the scientists and staff have the tools and things that they need, and what are the type of approvals and procedures that we want to build across that. So there's a lot of different areas that we're going to cover here, but we just want to outline what are our requirements, what do we need, and here's the common functions we're seeing in order to achieve that. And Michael, I think we're going to go into poll 2 here.
Okie dokes. Thanks, Chris. Going into poll 2, what would you like to improve about your current business processes? Launch that. Better visibility and oversight, faster trials, easier stakeholder collaboration, or maybe something else. Give everyone a few more seconds here. Okay, well, it looks like better visibility and oversight, as well as easier stakeholder collaboration, really took the cake here. Makes sense. I am going to give that back to you, Chris.
Excellent. Good answers. We could have just ended the deck early, if not, right?
Yeah, right.
So what we'll do first here is we'll get into why NetSuite. Why is NetSuite the right tool set? So we're going to just hone into some of the things that we're solving within the NetSuite platform, and then we'll move into what OpenAir is providing us, and then kind of just wrap it all up together, and why are these two systems integrated together the best possible scenario. So we're going to talk about just 7 or so different elements that we've built within NetSuite to solve some of the use cases. And we'll start right in with opportunity management. So kind of starting at the top, right, the front end, and really what we're diving into is the CRM elements of NetSuite. We're going to talk about what is opportunity management. And here what we talk about is a pipeline. So understanding what do we have for future business, the ability to record that future business, to assign probabilities and likelihood in order to achieve sales visibility and forecasting. So this is really giving us a mindset to say, what is out there in terms of future work? How do we provide likelihood that we're going to win that future work? And that lends itself to all sorts of reporting, what if scenarios, and it gives us visibility into what is our sales pipeline, but it also provides something else. What it does is it allows us to also say, are we staffed correctly? Do we have the proper facilities and lab space and just general capacity requirements to achieve what we're forecasting in terms of our sales? The what if scenarios gives management a bit of a understanding to say, well, if we close their entire pipeline, what would that look like? Or if we closed half or a quarter, it gives us sort of the background information in terms of trying to understand making those decisions in a more proactive way. And then from looking in the past, what are our win rates? We can start to look at our sales processes and say, why are we winning deals or why are we losing deals? And we can, since we're recording all this information, we're going to have a lot of history to fall back on and really start to look at things like, are we pricing it accurately? Are we profitable on these deals that we're winning? And what type of future work should we be going after? And that's all getting into trends and KPIs according to what our sales forecasts were. Next, we often get asked, and this is actually one of the more complex areas of what we're seeing in terms of our CRO implementations, is our estimating, pricing, and quoting. So oftentimes we're coming into these organizations and the pricing models are fairly complex. What we've been able to do is use NetSuite as a pricing tool to put in structures around what are our volumes, do we get certain pricing based on tiers, customer-based pricing. So there's a lot of different methods that we have to provide that flexibility in order to price these studies, tasks, units appropriately. And this is really an important area because what we're going to talk about downstream is automated billing. Well, if we don't price accurately and we don't have the understanding of how we're pricing and have that flow through the system, then that automated billing really goes away and we're going back to our manual efforts, our spreadsheets, and everything we're trying to get away from. Furthermore, what we can do here is also build that pricing into a quoting mechanism. We have the ability to communicate those quotes with clients. We can quote multiple opportunities, multiple different scenarios. And so we're using this tool to really understand how our pricing works, communicate that pricing with our customers, and ultimately lead to wins, and then downstream to automated billing. So this is really something we focus on. We also have seen that there's a lot of different discounting techniques based on, again, all the areas that we talked about: volumes, tiers, pricing, customers, and how do we record those discounting in a better way and understand what discounts we're applying and where we should apply them. And then also at this stage, we're tying in approvals, right? So if we have our sales organization that's constantly pricing, constantly quoting, well, how do we make sure that those deals are accurate or profitable? So oftentimes we have a approval workflow built into the quoting application just to make sure that it's gone through the proper procedures and visibility into management before we're communicating that. And then the last piece is incentive comp or commissions. So we can build our compensation or our commissions on a number of different ways, whether it's bookings, billings, collectability, but it really starts up front with the quoting in terms of laying out, who is associated to the particular sale, how are they going to be compensated on it, and when do we pay that out. I think probably one of the biggest takeaways of this presentation and what we're trying to achieve is a term we have of automated billing. I know that this is typically a pipe dream, and here's where we're seeing a lot of different applications trying to perform the same actions. Hunter is going to show this a little bit in the open air, and that's why we put this sort of visual in here to say, what is the handoff? And this is where we're seeing kind of that football toss across from the two applications, where we have a number of different billing methods that we can configure within the system. So things like time and material, if you're more of a traditional type PSA firm, percent completes of your study or study tasks. Consumption and unit-based billing is one that we're seeing quite a bit, and we have a bit of a tailored demo associated to that, so we'll kind of see that live in action. Or do we bill on a set frequency? Do we bill a set amount over an interval of time? And this covers a lot of different areas, and there's obviously wiggle room within each of them. Now, ultimately, all of these actions, billable actions, need to flow into your ERP. So once it's in NetSuite, then we can start to build in things like approvals within invoices to make sure that finance is looking at them from a proper accounting perspective, that we've invoiced the right amount. Maybe you have a high threshold client where we want to treat this more with a white glove and we want to hand deliver these invoices. Those are the type of decisions you can make once we've had that invoice integrated into your ERP. And then what sort of collection efforts do we have against this? Do we want more of an automated collection effort where we're following up on overdue invoices? Is it a scheduled event, or is it just general visibility into what's outstanding and that we want folks to follow up on? So again, we'll see a bit more about this as we get into the open air demo, but this is certainly an area of focus that we've had over the number of years. The next slide here, we call this study execution, but I don't want to think about this in terms of how are we applying resources to studies. This is more about inventory management. So in a number of CROs, we have requirements to track things like samples and compounds. And there's a number of different areas within those that we have to think about, which are location management. Where are they in our buildings? Where are they across our labs? And this could be not just one location, but across the country, across the world. So we have to understand, how does the inventory management aspect of this tie in? We've had requirements such as, I need to store these samples and compounds in either bins or freezers, and they may have certain qualifications around that, around how cold the freezer has to be, and what if a freezer fails? What are the things that we need to move around, right? So it's all about traceability and tracking. Consumption is a big one, and how do we use the samples? What samples and compounds are we applying to projects and consuming those so that they're no longer in our quote unquote inventory? We've solved things like naming conventions, and a lot of times companies build their own sort of naming conventions. They could be very complex around samples and compounds, so that it's almost like a lot or serial number track. And so that's one of the areas that we've certainly come across in this solution here. And then just certain movements of those inventories, transfers, consumption, and just general understanding of where that inventory may exist. Now, NetSuite being a fully cloud-based application with an open API, there's always a concept of integration. One of the biggest integrations we're doing is with a LIM system. So there's certain pieces of functionality that it just doesn't make sense to build into an ERP or PSA solution. Those are things like your research development, quality control, testing, report generation. Those LIM systems are really built for function to accommodate those requirements. But there may be touch points that we need to associate across to the ERP and PSA solutions. So very common to see an integration moving data across so that folks aren't manually keying it into one system and then keying it into another. Some other common integration touch points we're seeing are CRM. So if you're not necessarily using NetSuite as a CRM, but maybe a Salesforce or another application, again, very open API that gives us the ability to do this. From a project perspective, the concept of us bringing two tools to the equation here are that NetSuite and OpenAir really play nicely together. They're built to integrate. There's a native integration, and those are some of the handoffs that we'll be talking about as we're moving forward. From an accounting perspective, again, OpenAir and NetSuite are transforming accounting type pieces of information to each other in terms of project accounting, revenue recognition, billing, and there's various others. Asset control, resourcing and skill sets, and supply chain, again, all common touch points that we may be moving data from application to application with the concept that this needs to be automated. For all my finance and accounting folks, NetSuite really gives us the ability to do consolidated financials. And what we mean by this is we can really segment the company to be able to report financial health by the different areas, whether that's different departments, whether it's divisions, revenue stream, clinical, ops. We can really slice and dice our financials into a number of different segments. And this just gives us overall visibility into the profitability and lets executives make decisions in terms of what areas are doing better than others. Are there avenues that we need to essentially get into, different type of life sciences that we need to pursue. So we really want to drive the fact that with all of this data that we're capturing within our ERP, we have the ability to do really complex profitability analysis to understand the different health points of our business. Additionally, we're seeing a number of CROs that are more of a multi-company or multi-subsidiary environment, and we use a concept of one world to achieve that. So being able to maintain multiple legal entities and divisions that either cross those legal entities or are specific to an entity, we have the flexibility to record and achieve all of that. And then reporting is not just financial based. So we kind of have three terms here that we like to talk about in terms of what does management reporting look like? Well, it actually looks like a number of different things. We break them down into push, pull, and alert. So from a push perspective, this is something that I want the system to push me out at a regular interval because it's specific to what I do day to day, and I want that visibility, and I don't want to have to generate that every time. So one example is to send the top 10 most utilized resources this quarter every Monday. Maybe I'm a resourcing person, I'm a head scientist, and I run a team of operations, and I want to know who's my most utilized resources. Maybe they're a bit overutilized and I need to take action. Pull, the system always has the ability to pull reports. So let's say I want to run the 10 most profitable studies and I want to pull those today. So we always have the ability to pull and download and manipulate. And then alerts are more of a proactive approach to say, I want an email if a study is approaching its end date or we're overused hours. And you kind of name these, and it's not something that we come and say, what are all the alerts that you want? We actually give you the ability to learn how to build these yourselves, and it's all very configurable and configuration based. And with that, we're actually going to transition over to Hunter to take a quick look at the a demo in OpenAir.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. Let me go ahead and share.
Did you present her?
Yep, I'm sharing my screen right now. Let me know when you guys can see it. You should be looking at the OpenAir application.
It looks great.
Fantastic. So as Chris mentioned earlier, we are going to be walking through a couple of examples for how we can use the system to help your organization track resources as well as do billing. Now, of course, what I'm showing you is all fake data, and I'm trying to do my best to make it generic and know that the words or phrases that you see within this account, we can change to tailor to your account. Or, of course, you can always have multiple ways to skin the same cat. This is just walking through one of the leading practices. So where I'd like to start my demo is how can we use the system to track resources and get the right people for the right project? With an OpenAir on my left-hand side, we have these different modules. I'm going to jump into this resources tab, which is the go-to spot for everything related to where my people are working, as well as how utilized they are. The first screen you're seeing here is this planner view. So right off the bat, OpenAir is giving you a very visual representation of the data that you have within the system. This is almost an Outlook-like view, where on the left-hand side, we have all of our individual resources, and I'll collapse them. On the right-hand side, when it's collapsed, we see just at a very high level, what is their booked utilization? So right off the bat, you can see a couple people are over 100%, maybe highlighting they may be overworked or we may need to offload some of their work, as well as some people who are, within the mid-range in terms of utilization. Expanding any individual will give me more data to make a decision on what's actually happening. So each row here is representing a different project that I have set up. And underneath them, you can see high-level information on the commitment that was there. So for example, Mary Adams has been booked to 20% of her time to this PSA module deployment. In addition to the project information, I can also see information on the user, right? This is a project manager. So I can use this screen to quickly maybe look at my team. So let's say I want to see how are my associates doing. I'll type in associate, and right there I'll filter to all of my staff that are currently assigned the associate role to see how they're working at a high level. In addition to getting this visual representation and consumption of data, OpenAir also provides a way for us to search and find the right person for the job based off of their skill sets. So if I go back to this resources tab and go to advanced resource search, this will take me to a screen where I can build criteria and query the system and figure out who can meet the demands of the job. The first thing I'll select is what is the availability that I need. So let's say I know I have a project that's kicking off in October. So I'll say maybe it's starting October 1st and going to the end of the month. I know I need somebody for 50% of their time. And in addition to that, I want a specific individual. So if I navigate to the skills and experience tab, I can start adding in extra criteria to the search. Maybe I want an associate who has, intermediate skills in assay development and who is a specialty in oncology. Right here, I'm building my query, and let's say this is something that, I want to run frequently, maybe change the availability, and I don't want to rebuild it over and over again, Opener does allow you to save search settings to reference later. If I click this search icon, I'll immediately get pulled up a list of resources that match or partially match the criteria. So you can see Judy Davis, who showed up, has 100% rating, which means they met every single piece of criteria that I set. And we have Carol and Ed who met, some of it. From the screen here, I can get a quick visualization of what their booked utilization or what commitments they already have scheduled over the time period to give you extra information on, the timing when they'll be available. For example, if I look at Ed here, Monday the 26th through Friday the 30th, he's booked pretty solid. So if I have any idea that that may be a busy week within my project, I may look to another resource. In this case, Judy matches all of the criteria, her utilization looks good. So to staff that individual to the project, all I need to do is highlight over the person's name, get this new booking icon. From here, I'll staff them to, an oncology example project. I'll key in that start and end date for when I need the individual. Say for the percentage of time 50, then confirmed. And hitting save, this can trigger an automatic notification not only to Judy, but also to the project manager or Judy's line manager to let them know, hey, you've been staffed. And then clicking save brings me back to this resources planner so I can see in that time period what they kind of have related. That's just a quick example of how we can use the resource management tool to not only see what our people are working on, but also find individuals and staff them to the right project. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here with the remaining time, and let's talk about one of the billing scenarios. So one of the common themes or uses that we're seeing within CROs is usage-based billing, or how can I track my time as well as to know when I've delivered a task, a unit, a report that I can then bill off of. So what I'm going to do here is in my projects tab, I've navigated to this oncology project. And what we're looking at here is the work breakdown structure. So this would be set up by a project manager or someone who's familiar with the needs for the engagement. This is a very basic example. I have one phase broken out into multiple different tasks, and you can see some time information, how many planned hours we expect to have, as well as a Gantt view so I can look at my scheduling. The key thing I want to focus on here, though, is if I go to this financials tab and go to this billing section, this is where I can start to set up how we want to bill or treat the work that's done against this project. Chris did a great job of going through the different scenarios, and I want to point out that Opener supports a multiple billing scenario on an engagement. So you could have a piece of your project that's consumption-based, another piece that's time and materials, and a third piece that maybe is fixed price, or any combination of all of them. So if I go to this consumption-based billing, this is where I'll tell the system, what are the rates for the various different services or units that I'm providing? As you can see here, I have two services. One is a testing unit, right? Just a generic unit that's a result of testing, as well as maybe a report. What this is telling me is that for every testing unit or equivalent that I deliver, bill at a rate of $50 per unit. For every report that I write, bill at $100 per unit. If I ran billing right now, we won't see anything being generated because no work's been done. So how do I tie my cost and work into this billing? Well, I'm going to create a timesheet against this project. I'll choose my start date, and I'll put it in the past just to make sure that we don't accidentally try to tell the system to bill something that hasn't happened yet. And then on this timesheet screen, I'll choose that oncology project, and I'm going to fill out my time as if I was filling out my work week. So maybe I spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, essay development, and then I spent the rest of my week maybe doing some data management to get 40 total hours. From here, I also have the option to show how many units or delivered units I performed in this week on this engagement. So let's say during the week, I delivered 2 of my units. So on Monday, I delivered 1, Friday, I delivered 2. On this time title, the note that, hey, these tests are complete, it's delivered, for a total of what you'll see is 42 hours. Now, the key thing about having this time title is it segregates out the work done on this row from the user's time that has been entered. So what I mean by that is everything that's recorded here is not going to affect your utilization reporting. It's not going to affect your cost reporting for labor. The only thing the system is going to look at for those metrics is the actual time work. So I can kind of have my cake and eat it too. I can see where my scientists or project managers or staff is spending their time. I can then use that for forecasting. I can use it for cost and budgeting data, but also in the same screen, I can have them drive when they delivered something. Now, of course, this will go through an approval process. So I'd hit save and submit. This would route to either the project manager or the defined approval process that you have for your company. For the sake of this demo, I'm having this timesheet auto approve just for time constraints. But the idea would be this would be reviewed by someone to confirm that this work was actually completed, as well as the unit actually delivered. So now that I've done this, I'm going to hop back into my project and I'm going to run billing again, right? We've now have confirmed from our time and from the actual person doing the work that we've delivered something, which should have consequence in billing. So I'll hop back to this financials tab. I'll go to billing. I'll run this billing again. And what we'll see here is we will see 2 units for $50 a pop related to that testing for the consumption-based billing, or excuse me, 175. So this is how, we can enable and drive consumption-based billing right on a project fed directly from the time and the work that's being done from the people who have boots on the ground. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Chris, so that we can continue on with the screen.
Terrific. Thank you, Hunter. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to wrap up the presentation here to just conclude. We talked about what NetSuite provides in this equation. We talked about open air, and Hunter walked through the demo both from a resourcing perspective, from a flexible billing and automated billing perspective. And we're just going to tie this up for why are these 2 applications, why are we better together? Okay, so the first one is connecting CRO or operations. So what we're seeing in the studies that we've performed, 100% of the people who are partaking in these studies say that we need unified clinical operations. What that means to us is providing a single source of truth. And the outcome of that is real cost savings, right? So understanding that we can lower the administration effort of maintaining multiple disparate systems, less people are moving data manually from one to the other. We're also reporting on one kind of common platform, which gives us more real-time analysis, alerts and notifications to be more proactive, and we're more managing by exceptions and less by data manipulations and rules. And this really changes the gears in terms of people having more access to information in quicker and more real-time fashion.
Yeah, in addition to that, it's also building collaboration, right? We want to have all of the people, working on the same application, looking at the same data, to break down these silos. One of the nice benefits about using the NetSuite Open Air package is it does have a mobile application, so it makes it easier to consume as well as record data on the go. And this, of course, leads then to better decision making, right? Because you'll have more real-time data. You'll be able to consolidate and report on data from many different parts of your business so that you can be more agile. And hopefully it encourages cross-functional engagement. Traditional business units that may not talk to each other, now they'll have a system where they can kind of see the data if, of course, we want to give them access to the data, and then work together to kind of improve the efficiency of processes, which of course leads to external communications. Any of the things that I showed you stay in Open Air as well as in NetSuite. We can run reports and share that with your life sciences companies that have engaged with you as well as your other customers so that they can be up to date on the progress that you're making.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, Hunter, is, we work also with a lot of life sciences organizations, and one of the things that they're striving for is more automated communication of things like study percent completes, tasks that have been completed, and it really gives more backup to understand their billing, which leads to less questions and hopefully better collectability of those invoices. Another benefit of using tools such as NetSuite and OpenAir is just general user experience. What we understand is that a lot of times we're working with folks that don't log into an ERP every day, that aren't necessarily responsible for managing things like study tasks, work breakdown structures. And we want to make it as easy as possible, right? These are folks that are scientists, that are associates, that are really more in the field, and we want to give them the tools to be able to record their time, to record their completions, expense reports in a better, more efficient manner, so that they can really focus on what their tasks at hand. So part of what we wanted to provide here is just showing how easy it is to enter things like a time card, work completions, and then ultimately how those can be routed for approvals and visibility of management.
In addition to user experience, we of course want to make sure that we're helping the people, in the back office, right? Our accounting team, making sure that they have to do less manual work, less consolidation of data, less calculations to figure out what are we billing in a given period, how much revenue do we need to recognize, so they can focus on generating the reporting that they need, as well as, the costing data versus the administrative work that comes as inevitability from working with disparate systems and other units. And, as you saw, right, the timesheet that was entered with an opener directly fed to the billing that was run by our, fake finance user, which would then lead to recognition. So it's all connected in one.
Exactly. And then as we grow, like Hunter mentioned earlier in the presentation, as your CRO organization grows, audit and compliance typically grow with it, right? So the regulatory requirements that you have to track where your inventory is, what you have on hand, sample and compound management grows exponentially as you get bigger. Maybe you're thinking about public. So there's a financial and an operations element to that we have to understand and be able to provide reporting on those type of requirements. And then also just from a pure study and project status, understanding and being able to provide what are our percent completes, how fast are we burning through resources, are we over under in our efficiency factors, forecasting from a resource perspective, making sure we have the right people and with the right amount of time to accomplish those studies and tasks as they come in. And it really spans the entire sales cycle, right? So again, that ties into the importance of understanding what our pipeline is, our closed won deals, all the way through project execution, and then getting down really into the very granular task status. So not just understanding what our percent completes or overall statuses of a project, but getting down to the granular tasks. And Hunter showed, essentially the assay development, the phases. So it can be as high level or as granular as effectively as you need.
And then finally, scalability. One of the things that we haven't covered yet, but is an option, is with any cloud technology, and especially with NetSuite and Opener, you don't have to purchase every single piece of functionality that comes with the system, right? This can really grow with your business. Say you're at the stage right now where you really kind of like your accounting system, but you want to look for a better resource management tool. You can purchase just the resource management module, which then you can grow into and add on, the project management, the budgeting, the accounting later, or vice versa, or kind of anything in between. We have plenty of customers who look at the breadth of functionality that's provided and pick and choose, where they are based off of their current business, knowing that, hey, they can grow into some of the pieces later. Another advantage, right, is you have automatic upgrades. So each of the systems has a upgrade twice a year, adding new functionalities, new features, new reports. So you don't have to worry about having an in-house IT team that needs to upgrade your system periodically spending in all of that internal IT effort, which really allows you to increase your startup speed, increase your project volume, and get back to understanding where within your resourcing you have capacity, availability, skill sets to meet the demand of your pipeline. Really marrying up those two, seeing how many products do I have out there? Do I have the staff on hand to meet that? If not, maybe I can then supplement that either through hiring or contract work just to meet my demand, and identify some of those problems earlier on so that as you grow, you don't get stuck trying to figure out what's happening or you get caught with the resourcing shortfall.
Perfect. And that actually concluded our PowerPoint, Michael.
Great, excellent. Thanks so much, Chris and Hunter. Appreciate all the insights here.